How y'all doing? All right, first things first. I want to congratulate all the 5th and 8th graders for graduating. Give them another round of applause. For many, a graduation, to graduate means to move on, to go to another level. Each of y'all have established or built up some skills so that you can move to the next level in life. That means that the 5th grade will be moving into middle school and the 8th grade will be successfully moving into high school. But I need to stress that graduation does not mean you get the rest. Parents, we have to push our children. This is one hurdle that they made it over. 5th grade, 8th grade, now we need to push them towards high school. Now, graduation is more like a reset. Because now, each of them have to take the skills that they acquire right now and push the reset button and start over. Some of them are going to be going out to a high school. And high school is a lot different than middle school. Those of you that have been in high school, y'all remember that, am I right? Middle school is different than elementary school. So we got to go in taking on more responsibility. And parents, once again, they're going to need us. Some of them going to come back and talk to Mr. Brown. Some of them going to be coming back home and they're going to need your encouragement. Now, what I like to do, I like to tell stories, as my kids know. The ones especially been in detention after I get upset and I go on to one of my long stories, but I'm going to keep it short. But before I tell the story, there's 2 things that everybody in this room got to decide. 2. 1, prior to today, because the story I'm telling is an Aesop fable. It's from Aesop fable and it's called The Ants and the Grasshopper. This is a very common story, but I want to take a deeper look at it. And I want y'all to really listen to this. You got 2 questions that you have to answer. 1, prior to today, young people, adults, prior to this day, right here, right now, where we are right now, were you an ant or were you a grasshopper? And then after this day, starting right after they leave this room, will you be an ant or a grasshopper? Let me read the story. Y'all familiar with the story, right? All right, I'm going to tell it anyway. The Ants and the Grasshopper by Aesop. The ants were spending a fine winter's day, drying grain collected in the summertime. A grasshopper, perishing with famine, passed by and earnestly begged for a little food. The ants inquired of him, "Why did you not treasure up food during the summer?" He replied, "I had not leisure enough. I passed the days in singing." They then said in derision, or they looked down on him and said, "If you were foolish enough to sing all the summer, you must dance supperless to bed in the winter." Now, for those that don't understand, let me just break that down for you. While the grasshopper was playing, the ants were working. While the grasshopper was out talking with his friends and texting and kicking, the ants were out hustling. They were dragging the grain because they knew a winter would come. Now, I try to tell my kids, I want them to be simple literate. I don't want you to just think about winter as the cold season that we deal with. Winter is hard times in life. Those of us that have been alive long enough know that we always will run into hard times. Some of us done ran into winter time in the midst of summer. And we need to be able to encourage our children. We got to push them to be like the ants. We got to push them to be hustling when everybody else is trying to have fun. Because I don't know if y'all know this. And 5th and 8th grade, I need y'all to understand this. Right now, America is at the top. Everybody is looking at us. Everybody around the world. And I want y'all to understand this. I don't know if people really understand the seriousness of this. All over the world, in China, in Korea, in Germany, in Ghana, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, there are young people that want to take your child's position in the future. And you know what they're doing? While our children are playing with cell phones, do you know what they're doing? They're doing just like those acts. They out hustling. We, as parents, need to get behind our children and help them become ants. Because think about this. The ants didn't just work and not have fun. When the wintertime came, what was the ants doing? They was chilling because they had already stacked up. 5th through 8th grade, all the way up to 12th. If we get our children to hustle, when it come time for college, they're going to be able to chill. Because they're going to have all their ducks in a row. But if we allow them to be grasshoppers, if we allow them to spend more time kicking, if we allow them to spend more time texting, if we allow them to spend more time playing these games, if we allow them not to study, if we do not force them and guide them, if we do not become parents and stop being friends, we will fail our children. So today, and I'm done, our students need to decide whether they're going to be grasshoppers or they're going to be ants. And parents, we're going to have to decide whether we're going to be grasshoppers or ants. Because I want to tell you one last thing about these ants, because in my research, it's one thing I noticed about the ants. Because the story says the ants with an S and the grasshopper. The ants work for something bigger than themselves. The ants had a goal. They had a team. They had a family or a community that they worked for, that they made sure they had food for. The grasshopper worked for himself. We need to make sure our children know that they're not just going to school and representing themselves. They're representing something bigger. Every time one of them does not give their best, who does it reflect on? Every time one of them get in trouble, who does it reflect on? See, y'all, I want to be done because I'm the dean of students, because I'm the one that has to call you. But I want y'all to understand, because they need to hear this. When they are not doing what they are supposed to be doing, who are they representing? When they are not getting the grades that we know they are capable of, who are they representing? So we got to be clear, and we got to make sure they know that so that we can push them into a bright and shining future. I had a nightmare last night. And I know I said I was done. I had a nightmare last night. And the nightmare went like this. I was given a choice by my grandmother who passed away. She told me that I could either have a good and healthy relationship with my son and be his friend, or I could push him towards greatness and be his father. Which one would I choose? I'm going to leave the question in for you. You can have a nice, steady relationship and be their friend, or you can push them to greatness and be their parents. Give it up for the class of 2014.